sarcasm, and of course, your calls. He'll even pour a beer out the door for his favorite story of the day. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Now, here's Pledge.
What's up, Dad? Can't stop me now. I said I got you now.
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM. SASportsStar.com. I am James Pledger. Thanks for joining me. However you may be joining me this evening, whether it's 94.1 FM, SASportsStar.com via our stream, or you can watch and comment along with the show on our YouTube channel at SA Sports Star. Like, subscribe, comment along, have some fun with us tonight as we get you ready on this fantastic Friday. Man, it is good to be Friday, although weird thunderstorms and stuff. Bad weather apparently this weekend. Fred Villarreal actually says happy thunderstorm Friday night. I had no clue. And as a matter of fact, because our friends who are going to be, as we get ready for Radio Row coverage, AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage for the big game out there in Las Vegas. Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, one of the sponsors, along with Synergenics. They sent a care package that we've already kind of teared into. And one of them is this Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, hot and spicy. And, of course, they're proud supporter of the Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund. But, holy wow! That is just such a fantastic flavor, the hot and spicy, which I'd never seen before. So I'm going to have to get to HEB and see if those are already in stores, because those are top notch. By far, my new favorite flavor of Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds. Just incredible. But remember, they're going to be in Sin City all week long next week. And I'm going to give you a little preview, if you don't mind. Monday, they start off with former Falcons GM Thomas Dimitroff. They'll have Solomon Wilcots and former Fighting Smithson Valley Ranger and NFL veteran Rice Owl as well, Andrew Sandejo. Sean Merriman's going to be there. Dan Marino, Daryl Johnston, Ed McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Jordan Addison, Vikings rookie receiver, Michael Lombardi, Mike Golick. Of course, wouldn't be complete unless Rob got to interview Chef Andrew Zimmern. So those of y'all aware of the Super Bowls, man, Rob doing an Andrew Zimmern interview is one of my favorite things of all time. Kellen Winslow, Lee Steinberg, Steve Largent, Ron Jaworski, Jamal Lewis, Brian Baldinger, Shalarith, Bruce Smith, Emmett Smith, Kevin Harlan, Dean Blandino, Rich Eisen, Brandon Cooks, and Stephon Gilmore. It is a packed week at Radio Row, and that's just the start of it. So it's going to be very interesting as we unpack next week, or they unpack, because they will be the ones going. And then, of course, it is brought to you. AA Best Bail Bonds presents the San Antonio Sports Star Radio Row coverage, coming to you all next week live from Las Vegas. It is powered by Synergenics, Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, and this delicious new hot and spicy flavor, which Fred Villarreal says, wow, love the hot and spicy. Is it spicy? You know, in the chip aisle, they have those hot and spicy, better and more flavorful than those, but kind of the same, similar spice pattern, if you will. So that's what it is, although these are completely far more healthy for you. And the spice palette has a nice, if you know what, that kind of residual that just sits on your tongue, for a little bit. They are so good. But excited for next week. It's going to be lonely. Me and Edwin are just going to be kicking around the radio ranch alone all next week, although we will be extremely busy. So it's not like we're not going to have things to do. The question for me as it pertains to that is what's going to happen with the Cowboys defensive coordinator position between now and then? Because there is a lot to undertake in terms of how do you replace Dan Quinn? What's the best possible path, and will the Cowboys actually do it? Because this morning on Get Up, Mike Tannenbaum, former general manager, spoke to the difficulties that they may end up having now that now that Dan Quinn is gone, and with Mike McCarthy and the way things sit within the structure of the organization, how difficult this may actually be to get someone in.
Mike McCarthy's in a lame duck year.
Right.
How do they get a viable defensive coordinator in on a lame duck coach?
That's a real thing, right, Mike T? If Mike McCarthy only has 1 year left, that might make it more difficult to lure a top defensive coordinator there.
Yeah, absolutely, Graz. D-Wood makes a really good point, which is when prospective defensive coordinators are coming in, they're going to want a multi-year deal, and everybody knows that Coach McCarthy is on a 1 year deal. So it could be a situation where somebody that's working for Mike McCarthy has a longer-term contract than he does, and that's awkward. I've been in that situation, Dan. The head coach, his agent's calling saying, hey, we need an extension. We can't attract the best candidates. And the irony, this is really intriguing in terms of the NFC East. So Dan Quinn goes to Washington. That hurts Dallas. And who do you see as names to potentially replace him? Ron Rivera, the former head coach of the Commanders. Don Martindale, the former defense coordinator of the Giants. So this is really interesting how it's going to play out in the coming days.
Now, that is interesting to me, especially when you talk about some of the possible candidates. And I want to ask you guys that are via our YouTube feed at SA Sports Star. You can drop in the comments. You can tweet at me at I am Pledger. Or you can call up the phone, 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. I'm open to almost anything. Ron Rivera feels very flat. And at that point, when's the last time you remember a Ron Rivera coach team having a really good defense? Questions? Because that seems to be the favorite. And if that's the favorite, how do you feel about it? 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. I am James Pledger. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Your phone calls and why Dan Quinn taking that job has suddenly made this much more difficult for the Dallas Cowboys, and has it just already become the inevitable setting in? We'll discuss next right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM and SASportsStar.com.
The Sports Star boys are headed to Vegas for the big game.
Remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
This Monday, Robin RJ and Jason and Joe are heading to Sin City and Radio Row for the big game, with security provided by AA Best Bail Bonds.
Let's go to Vegas. We'll all get drunk and
Woo! Think you gonna get away with it? Not up in here.
not up in here.
Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, Synergenics, Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, and 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
What's he talking about here? He's talking about Asian.
It wasn't me that started that war.
I mean, isn't that racist?
No, I think it was a crazy Asian war, was it not? It wasn't.
It wasn't Oriental. What would make it Oriental?
If they fried it with bell pepper and pineapple and added sweet and sour sauce, that would make it Oriental.
The John Clay Wolf Show, every Saturday morning.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show, Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon, right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
Football's biggest game day is almost here. Total Wine is your place for all your game day needs. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. Be 21.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Football's biggest game day is almost here. Total Wine is your place for all your game day needs. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. Be 21.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's BABBEL.com.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
This is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
When was the last time you went to the dentist? Need a new dentist? Hi, Jason Minix here. Go see my dentist at Smile Structure Dentistry and Braces. Smile Structure can handle all your dentistry needs, from general dentistry to oral surgery, orthodontics for the kids, or Invisalign for adults. Mention this ad, get a free exam and x-rays. Veteran owned with 5 San Antonio area locations. Learn more and book an appointment online at smilestructure.com. That's smilestructure.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
Over the past decade, the Roo Pub has proven to be the best place to watch games, with those 3 massive 170-inch screens and TVs all around. Football, basketball, all the UFC fights. And when you show up at the Roo Pub, show up hungry. The food is fantastic. Open daily at 11. Great for lunch, great for dinner, great for late at night, and the best place to watch a game. Celebrating 10 years in business, the Roo Pub is next to the Angry Elephant there at 281 in Redland Road. We'll see you at the Roo. It's the Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rind Appreciation Day celebration. Enter to win $5,000 cash, tailgating prizes, plus Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds when you pass the pigskin. Enter at porkrindappreciationday.com. That's porkrindappreciationday.com. And make sure to pick up the protein-packed, bold flavors of Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds today at H-E-B.
This is Andrew Monaco, and you're listening to the home of the Aggies, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pleasure. Thanks for rolling with me this evening. I asked a question going into break, because Ron Rivera seems to be the most talked about in terms of the potential next coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Joe Witt Jr.'s name comes up too. And I'm currently wondering, to me personally, I think it would best be Mike Vrabel. And for a multitude of reasons. A, he gets that defense going. He turns that culture and starts having people take accountability. And all of the sudden, they win. And he becomes a very hot head coaching candidate next season. His name's not going to be sullied by this. He got a head coaching job coming off of one of the worst Texans defenses with J.J. Watt. So, but his name will shoot to the top of every, especially if he's able to turn around the Cowboys, and he's not a threat, in my opinion, to Mike McCarthy, because if things fall apart on McCarthy, McCarthy's gone anyway. And if things go well, then they go well. And that's the worst that can happen. Goldfinger123 says, hire Nick Rallis from the Arizona Cardinals, their defensive coordinator. I like him. Jonathan Gannon, the head coach there, formerly the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, was one of the finalists for the Texans job as well. Nick Caserio supposedly really liked him in the last 2 coaching cycles. They went with D'Amico, and I couldn't be happier. But it looks like that Cardinals defense, that Cardinals team played extremely hard all year long. So it would be, I think, a really good hire. I've heard Brandon Staley's name thrown out there. That just doesn't sound appeasing at all if I was a Cowboys fan, knowing his shortcomings, his failures in San Diego. And really, he had a pretty good defense with the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl, which is how he got the Los Angeles Chargers job. But I mean, you had Aaron Donald and Jalen Ram. Like, the team was stacked, and you were still just, a good defense, not a great defense, despite all of the talent that was on that team. So I'm not quite sure exactly how great of a defensive coordinator Brandon Staley is in the first place. I know he's a terrible head coach with all the talent that they had with the Chargers. So that is now why Jim Harbaugh is there. But I would like to see someone that can come in and bring accountability and bring a level of holding players' feet to the fire, changing the culture within the program, because it's been like this for the Dallas Cowboys for as long as I can remember, to where, I mean, you want to talk about accountability, and Rudolph Gonzalez on our YouTube live says, everything that happens means doom and gloom for the Cowboys. I assume you just are speaking to me. No, I was asking literally a question. Hey, who would you want as the defensive coordinator? Because I don't personally believe Ron Rivera would be it. And I'm asking Cowboy fans, how would you feel if Ron Rivera were the actual Cowboy? Because it feels like if you bring in a Ron Rivera on the other side of Mike McCarthy, that this is a one and done year, an inevitable year for the Dallas Cowboys. Frank Mateo, who known Washington Commanders fan, says he hopes so. Browns DC, James Schwartz. Look, Jim Schwartz is great. I don't see a coordinator going from a coordinator job to another coordinator job in a lateral sense, especially on a coach with a 1-year deal going into basically a prove it year for himself. Look, accountability, culture, these are buzzwords, but I believe they mean so much more in football, because you need a couple of different things to set the foundation of a culture. It starts at the top, Jerry Jones. You've got that. That is what it is. But if you're going to deal with that circus, you have to set the culture from within the locker room and then kind of put a tent around it and the coaches are the ones that play the biggest part in that, right? To have to not be able to buy into it. The best and culture is a buzzword and everybody does it differently. The thing though is your pillars of your organization have to be lockstep. And you see it with Kelsey, Mahomes, and Andy Reid to where they can withstand the turbulence of Chris Jones' contract hiccup this offseason as they were fighting through that. I hear things like what Micah Parsons said on his podcast, and it makes me want to pull my hair out. And you've heard it. Blames the coaches, blames the players. I played well. I want to win a Super Bowl. I can see myself in one. There's not a we in that entire thing unless it was, you turn on the tape. I played my hardest. That's not a great look from the outside perceiving in. And if I'm inside, it doesn't sound great when it comes out of their mouths. This morning, Dak puts out a tweet with a Super Bowl logo and a marketing promotion, and his marketing team turned off the comments. Now, the quote tweets have been incredible as it pertains to it. But I hear things about culture from Micah Parsons, and he talks about, Mike McCarthy and building a culture.
I'm at complete peace, and I say that because I don't think I could have done anything more to try to win that game, and that comes to watching film with the other guys in the room, saying what I'm seeing, being vocal out there on the field. I was completely at peace because I know I don't have no regrets about how I performed or what I put into the game. And, and I appreciate what really matters in life, and that's family. Outside, I don't think that game defined me at all. I don't think, that moment defined me. So I'm completely at peace of how I went. I can't change how I went or, where it went. So I'm completely at peace. I love where I'm at in life. I love my family, and I love from where we're going. And I love how they're talking and how we're going to look ahead. And that means I believe in Mike McCarthy. We won a lot of games with Mike, 36 wins under the belt with Mike. So, hopefully he could take us all the way, and, we drive this culture and we change the narrative that people have.
We drive this culture and change the narrative that people have. Part of that culture is a lack of accountability right now. And Micah Parsons talked about their penalty issues, which have been a constant under Mike McCarthy.
Go watch that Packers game and watch Aaron Jones follow me wherever I went. And you could say that they blocked me, but, Jordan Love had almost every accessible throw there was. So how can you get a quarterback? If you, as a pass rusher, you look for opportunity for the quarterback to hold the ball. It just is what it is, and that's just the game. And, it's tough, and it's very disappointing. And, going into this year, there's just a lot of work and a lot of culture that needs to be established for us to be a Super Bowl team. I believe that, the Super Bowl is never won really by the best team. It's by the team that can put it together. So obviously the penalties hurt us again. Penalties hurt. Look at the Ravens game. I believe the Ravens was by far the best team, and they want to win the game. You look at penalties, you look at momentum shifting plays. It just happens to be that way. Experience is a gift, and obviously surrounded by really good players and really good coaching.
Penalty issues are a sign of culture not being there because there is accountability for those, and it has been an issue throughout Mike McCarthy's tenure. David Wyman says a leader gives credit to the team for successes, and they take the blame for the failures. That is 1,000% true. And you can be a part of the 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. Hold the line. I will get to you in just a second, but this was the one major Micah comment that really stuck with me because it leads into Jerry as well. And he talked about how the loss shows an importance for culture.
It really showed to me that, you really see how much people care about the game of football and the culture and the people you want around you when you say you want to build a Super Bowl championship team. And the truth about it, and it sucks. And, seeing here and, they talking about we're going all in this year, man. That's what I would hope for. I'm 24 years old. I've been in this league, 3 years, and I kind of seen it all. And I hope that we go all in. I hope that we go out and get the players that we're missing because we didn't do that this year. I hope that we challenge ourselves, become better, and become greater for us. And I'm trying to say this in like the most nice way possible because of how I truly feel.
He hopes they go all in. He hopes they get the players they need. He heard Jerry's comments, but did he hear Jerry's comments? Because I'm not going to play the whole minute-long clip of Jerry talking about going all in and not worrying about the future. I just want you to listen to the first 8 seconds of what Jerry said in his all-in comment.
I would anticipate, with looking ahead at our key contracts that we'd like to address, we'll be all in.
Okay, that's all I want you to hear of it. I would anticipate, with looking ahead at our key contracts that we'd like to address, we will be all in. He's talking about Dak, CD, Micah, maybe Biotish, Tyron Smith. He's talking about his own guys. Everybody's running because they heard all in, and they are like, oh, the Cowboys are going to go get free agents. Oh, this is going to be different. Oh, no, it's going to be more the same. He's just saying, no, he told you what all in meant for him. All in means his own guys. That's the most important thing. And nobody seems to be picking up the fact that Jerry's teasing the fact that he's talking about his own guys, not free agents, not Saquon Barkley, not Derrick Henry, not Chris Jones. They're 20-something million dollars over the cap. You can play cap gymnastics and make some things work, but not that much. You're going to make it work for your guys because your guys can actually help to alleviate those numbers to help get you back under the cap. It's going to be a lot easier for them. What say you, 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. We're going to take a quick break. Manny, we're talking with you, Dallas Cowboys. What do you think about the culture of this team, and what would be your perfect defensive coordinator? And would you be happy if Ron Rivera was your DC when it comes time to announce it? We're talking about all that next, right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's R&R in the morning.
Hey, Monday, huddle up with us. We're talking Spurs. They round out homestand, getting ready for the rodeo road trip. Did they take care of Zion? Was Cleveland any trouble? We'll talk about it.
Viva Las Vegas! We are here. It is Super Bowl Radio Row Week. Who will stop by and how many hugs will Rob give them? We start at 6. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's your wake-up call. R&R in the morning, 6 to 10 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Here in Texas, the heat is relentless. The storms are serious. The hail is insane. Texas weather doesn't do anything halfway, and neither should your roofer. Hi, I'm Joe Reinigal. You know, your roof protects your home and your family. So whether you need a simple repair or a roof replacement, metal or composition, you need a roofer you can trust. That's Stevens Roofing. They're reputable, reliable, and have always been your local roofer. Call Stevens Roofing today for a free estimate, 210-785-0994, or go online at stevensroofing.net.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, it was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference. Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real? For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me. Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves? Yes. Just send them a text.
Guys, text HATCH to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HATCH to 321-321. That's HATCH to 321-321.
This is Andrew Monaco, and the Aggies play here. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, SASportsStar.com. Appreciate y'all closing out your week with me right here. It is the perfect way to close out my week. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Some great comments in the comments section. Arnold P. saying, is Micah's podcast hurting his career? I'd like to see him play. Actions are always louder than words, especially after his lackluster performance to close out the year. That's every year, by the way. He said he's not even a Cowboys fan. No, Packer, right? Goldfinger123 says, just trade him now, get a ton of draft picks and more cap space. I'm wondering if that's become a Cowboy fan, like if they're starting to trend that direction, because remember, Dan Quinn was loved until this year. But man, I haven't seen the Cowboys defense play this well. 5th, and 7th in points per game. Leads the league in turnovers, takeaways, and sacks during his time period. Like, Dan Quinn's done a phenomenal job here. And it feels like everybody couldn't get him out the door fast enough. And if that's the case, it feels like it should be an inevitable everyone out the door. Ripcord it, start the whole thing over from scratch, let Dak and McCarthy play out, and then, trade Micah if you're kind of done with that experiment as well, and just go forward that way. And maybe that's what they're doing. maybe all in for Jerry means all in and letting these guys ride out the final years of their deal. Go prove it. Prove that it'll be different this year. What say you? 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. Manny, you dialed in. Manny, what's going on? Welcome on to Extra Innings with Pledge, my man. What you got for me on the Cowboys?
Well, Cowboys, America's team. Everybody wants to talk about him, love him or hate him. Here's the deal with Micah, man. He needs to start playing. Everybody, when he first came out there, and I think that includes me, I'm a Broncos fan on the record, by the way.
Okay.
And I was so upset that the Broncos passed him and took the corner Surtain instead. Yes. And then, his first year had a great year talking about, the next, that he's supposed to be the next Lawrence Taylor.
By the way,
he's not even
both
close.
picks look like they're working out. Like, Patrick Surtain's a great corner, by the way.
Well, the head coach of the Broncos at that time was Vic Fangio. He's a secondary guy, so of course he took the top-rated corner on the board.
Mm-hmm.
But the Broncos, since then until now, still need a linebacker, and they have the best one in the draft, and they passed on it for a corner, and we have plenty of corners.
I know another team that needs a linebacker pretty bad.
But hey, man, the deal, honestly, I think you're right. They need to bring in Vrabel. That guy is going to get in their face and hold them accountable. And I think Micah needs somebody like that. And yeah, Quinn did a heck of a job, but you know what? It's a lot like Kellen Moore did. He only got him so far. They need somebody else to get him past the finish line.
Yeah.
Clearly the last month of the season, the Dallas Cowboys could stop no one in the fourth quarter. And then they went to the Green Bay game and they were embarrassed. I mean, literally embarrassed. There was no change by Quinn in the game. It was just an embarrassing effort. And I think they just need somebody to take it. I think Quinn brought him as far as he could, and he did a great job. But it's kind of like the Cowboys' offense without Kellen Moore. It looked a lot better this year. And I think the defense can do the same with the right person in charge. But the problem is, where are you going to get players from? They're gonna, whether you believe he deserves it or not, Dak Prescott's going to get $60 million.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to happen. And then Lamb's going to get close to 30. Yep. And then what if Micah decides to pull an Elliott and demand a contract a year earlier than expected?
35.
They're going to pay him 30. So where's all the money going to go? Where's the money at? The cap, I think, is at 240 next year, maybe 220, 240, somewhere there. Like, they're not going to have money to pay these agents, and then the quality of the backup is going to be worse because they're not going to be able to keep the ones they have because they're going to go elsewhere for more money. So, like, it's a real tight line. Whoever's working the cap for the Cowboys to make something happen, because they definitely need linebackers playing linebackers, not safeties. It came down in the end, and again, they couldn't stop anybody towards the end of the season because those guys wore down. People started running at them and running at them. They all use the same formula against them. They need linebackers that are built like linebackers, not safeties that can run.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the NFL. You look at the playoffs, you got to stop the run, and you got to run the ball, and the Cowboys can do neither.
And that's Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel, a former linebacker, knows what it takes to have guys at that position to be there to be able to stop the run. And you're right. You've got to pay those guys. I understand that, because there are the haves and the have-nots when it comes to quarterbacks, and there are the haves and have-nots when it comes to receivers and edge rushers. And those are three of the most important positions on your team. But that's where the importance of just drafting comes in. And you have to make.
And they had a bad draft
decisions.
this year, Pledge.
They had a horrible draft this year.
They've had good ones in the past, but they missed this year.
This year was.
And I think Joe's got it right. Cowboys need to avoid Michigan guys. They haven't worked out.
Does that include
for the
Blake
Cowboys?
Corum?
Well, that might be different. I don't know where he's going to go in the draft, what his draft grade's going to be. But I feel the same way about the Michigan quarterback. I really don't think he's a first-round pick, and watch him go in the first round.
I am not a McCarthy fan, but
neither am I.
I am a Blake Corum fan.
See, I like him. I like his story. I think he's a fighter. I think that's the type of guy the Cowboys need. I think Cowboys need more guys in the locker room that are like that. If you guys listening haven't read his story, look what this kid did just to play high school football and the sacrifice he made. That's the kind of guy you need in the locker room. I don't think the Cowboys have enough of those guys, to be honest.
And here's what's going to happen, because in actuality, you got to sign all of those guys, or at least trade them and get return on your investment. So it's one of two things that you have to do with them. And if you're going to sign them, that just means you have to be more diligent in the draft and in lower tier free. You're going to guys that are important to you, like Tyler Biadasz, probably not going to be back because of the amount of money they got to spend in other places. So what do? I think Oregon's center, Jackson Powers Johnson, is going to be a stud at the next level. I think he's going to be a great center and probably a guy that the Cowboys should look for on day one or day two. I think you have to start focusing very, very much on addressing best players because most of their drafts, when they've drafted well, have been best player. But this past year's draft felt like they reached on everything in order to fill positional value need. They needed a run stopper. They went and got Mozzie. They were jumped in getting Dalton Kincaid, the tight end. The Bills jumped them and took them one spot ahead of them. So what happens? Tight ends start flying off the board, and they reach for Schoonmaker because there is a run on tight ends, and they're afraid they're going to miss on one. Like, that was what happened in the draft this year, and you can't tell me otherwise. It looked like everything was a reach, and nothing was best value on the board.
Well, they're going to have to hit on a whole bunch of them this year, so those guys can play cheap and contribute. They're going to have to hit. So they better be doing their homework out of the Senior Bowl and make sure they get it right. Now, if I let you go, Pledge, the last thing I heard something early on an earlier show, talking about Travis Kelce, that he's the greatest tight end of all time. And I'm here I wish I could slap somebody because, in my opinion, it's Gronkowski, and I don't even think it's close. I'm gonna tell you why. Kelce is great, but he is not a tight end. He is not a true traditional tight end. He's more like a inside receiver type of guy. Gronkowski was the whole package. He could play inside, outside, and the major difference between these two players, which to me is a separator, is you go watch Gronkowski in the last two Super Bowl wins for the Patriots, and it was like having an extra tackle on the line. Absolutely. He is a punishing run blocker, and Kelce is not even supposed to be in that. And you can play him at all times, and you would not know. To me, it's not even close. Gronkowski separates himself. They can both catch the ball. They can both run with it afterwards, but Gronkowski is a punishing blocker. And Kelce doesn't do that.
I appreciate the phone call, Manny, and I agree with you.
I appreciate it, and my hats off to him for hats off to Kelce. He scored big. He's made $300 million in the NFL with his girlfriend, but he's not Gronk, man. Look, he's not Gronk.
I agree. Gronk is the best two-way tight end I have ever seen in all of football. He was having an.
And I hate the Patriots. Absolutely hate the Patriots. But hey, I'm gonna recognize real. The guy's real. The guy was the best.
But a tight end is still a tight end. Travis Kelce is a tight end. Is he the same caliber of blocker? No, but he is an elite level receiving threat tight end that creates mismatches.
That he is. But to be the separation between who's better is that Gronkowski will totally destroy you on the line of scrimmage.
And I don't disagree with that. But he is what the modern day is when you talk about tight ends in the NFL. And I appreciate the phone call, Manny. Anytime you want to call back. We can have a discussion. Adolfo, welcome on to Extra Innings with Pledge, man. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm always good, brother. What's going on?
Nah, man, I got 3 letters for you.
Okay.
LBE.
Yeah, that's the only tight end the Cowboys, or the only linebacker the Cowboys had on their roster.
How important was his brain, I think, more than anything else, in stopping the run? At the beginning of the season, we really noticed that, right? That he was everywhere on the field, commanding everybody to go different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was the green
dot. As soon as we lost him, exactly. As soon as we lost him, the defense just went downhill.
100%. And it's a product of the Cowboys' own making. All right? Because look where they were awful. They had no depth at linebacker. They had no depth in the middle behind Hankins. They tried to address it. I will give them that with Mozzie Smith. And they had no depth on the offensive line, and they had no running backs. Middle. Like all right up the middle of the gut on both sides of the ball. They had their issues, and they did nothing to address any of those issues that we all knew were issues going into the season. And we knew they didn't have depth behind Leighton Vander Esch. How did they address it? By doing nothing. And what do we know about Leighton Vander Esch? And tell me if you think this is an apt comparison or not, because I think it's pretty spot on. Sean Lee, you saw differences in the Cowboys defense from when he was there and when he wasn't. And Sean Lee was always hurt, and every time he got hurt, the Cowboys defense fell apart. Leighton Vander Esch is the new Sean Lee.
That is 100% correct. I agree with you on that one. I agree with you that up the gut, we really didn't have the right players. And no matter what scheme would have brought up, what we could have come up with as far as the defensive side, without the right players, no scheme is any good.
I agree 100%, man. Scheme, culture, all of these things are seemingly things that the Cowboys have lacked and overlooked. And that when people say, why are you blaming Jerry? Because Jerry deserves some blame for this. Whether it's Jerry who holds the general manager title, whether it's Will McClay and Stephen Jones and the brain trust that we think is actually in control of the draft and free agency and where they spend their money, they have ignored issues that came back to bite them this year because they did not prepare with the depth that they so sorely needed. We all knew Tyron Smith was eventually going to get hurt this year. He missed fewer games than he's ever missed. We knew Leighton Vander Esch was going to get hurt this year. We knew there wasn't a lot of depth on that defensive line in the middle if it came down to the run game. And we knew Tony Pollard was unproven coming off an injury and that they had lost their pounded in back in Zeke Elliott. How are they going to replace it? Well, the same guy that's been on the roster the entire time, Rico Dowdle, and Malik Davis. Well, Malik Davis was MIA all year, and Rico Dowdle was just a guy. And Tony Pollard was not a number one.
And this has been an ongoing issue with the Dallas Cowboys, right? And as fans, I believe that we get that sucker punch every year around
Second weekend in January.
Right in September, right in October, we get that gut punch because there's inaction, right? Everybody knows how to fix it. Even they know what's needed, and they don't pull the trigger. That happened with Henry. They had the opportunity. They could have expended some of those draft picks, and we would have been able to hold off other offenses a lot longer with a good run game, and giving a little bit of protection to our defense.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't pull the trigger, and that's what caused the headache.
You're absolutely right. I appreciate the phone call, Adolfo. You're welcome to call back at any point in time. Our YouTube live feed, Frank Boteo at SA Sports Star says, hasn't Dan Quinn been to a Super Bowl with every team besides the Cowboys? It's the Dallas Cowboys culture, not the coaches. I agree with that to an extent. I mean, Mike McCarthy had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and went to one Super Bowl. I mean, I think McCarthy and Jerry together don't make a fantastic culture. And I'll explain on the other side what I mean when I say pillars of a culture in a community. And I'm going to use the Houston Texans as an example. We'll discuss more on Extra Innings with Pleasure next, right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 941 FM and sasportstar.com.
The Sports Star boys are headed to Vegas for the big game.
Remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
This Monday, Robin RJ and Jason and Joe are heading to Sin City and Radio Row for the big game with security provided by AA Best Bail Bonds.
Let's go to Vegas. We'll all get drunk and
Woo!
think you gonna get away with it. Not up in here.
Not up in here! Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, Synergenics, Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, and 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
I still get PMS. You know what I mean? So
Why
I
don't you
don't
get
know.
a hysterectomy? California,
Actually,
they
I've had
pay
a
for
partial
everything.
hysterectomy, smart ass.
Why didn't you get a full?
I don't know. I don't know why they didn't just gut me.
When they gut you, like a fish, do you age out quicker? Does that estrogen keep you a little younger?
Do you flop around on the dock?
The John Clay Wolf Show. Every Saturday morning.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon. Antonio Sports Star.
My name is Dustin. I'm the head designer for Cody James Black Boots, and this is Behind the Design with Boot Barn. The objective with this new line was basically to create a collection of boots that were going to be elevated, quality made, using the finest materials and craftsmanship available. Some of the key quality construction details that carry throughout the line would be premium cowhide lining, hand-nailed leather soles, and simplistic design. Cody James Black, only at Boot Barn.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
At Progressive, we're making things even easier. We'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. That's 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
COVID-19? I don't want to risk missing work. I booked an appointment for this season's updated COVID-19 shot designed to help protect against recent variants. Learn about a vaccine option and book your COVID-19 shot on schedulecovidvax.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details. Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? Fog between the glass? Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. And right now, you can save $375 off every window and $775 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Just text INSIDE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 monthly payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text INSIDE to 200-300 right now to save $375 off every window and $775 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. But hurry, these big dollar savings won't last long. Text INSIDE to 200-300. Don't wait. Text the word INSIDE to 200-300. Text INSIDE to 200-300.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health San Antonio will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 210-615-7777. That's 210-615-7777. Or visit revivemenshealth.com.
Super Bowl 58 in Vegas is set. It's the Chiefs and Niners. Hear it right here on your exclusive home for the Super Bowl. 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I'm James Pledger. Thanks for riding with me this evening as I take you up to 7 o'clock. Or handing it over to ESPN Radio. I believe it is Amber and Ian in the evenings. But I was talking about the culture, and what I mean by it is culture is something that is built via teams, organizations, from the top down. There was a horrible culture in Houston under Bill O'Brien. They had down to its studs and rebuild it. And by rebuilding it, Cal McNair kept one piece of it. It was Nick Caserio, who he believed in, but he exercised everything else from previous regimes. They agreed and brought in D'Amico Ryans to change the culture of this, and to everybody has to be in lockstep when you're talking about a culture from the top down. And the GM picks the coach and his culture. The coach then has to get with the GM to agree on the right pillars on the foundation of said culture. And the Houston Texans said, bet, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take CJ Stroud at number 2 overall. He encapsulates everything we believe in. He was a leader. He is soft-spoken, but loud in the room and leads by example and with his words. Cool. Captain at Ohio State. And they put that C on his chest as soon as he became the starter. The other one, they trade right back up to the pick right behind him, and they get Will Anderson Jr., a guy that decided not to opt out of a bowl game despite them not playing in the playoffs that year. And Will Anderson Jr. still played for Nick Saban. Nick Saban cannot gush enough about Will Anderson's leadership skills and how people follow him and rally around him. They put that C on his chest. Those were your pillars within the team that everybody galvanizes around. And it worked because it spread throughout the locker room. Who are the leaders of the Dallas Cowboys? Dak Prescott? Okay, I can see that, especially on offense, but there's not a lot of there, it feels like. Who's the leader on defense? Micah Parsons? The guy who doesn't take accountability for anything? Feels like he deflects more than he accepts? Come on. It's not the same. And you've got to get the coaches to get the players in place that are going to lead your team and set the example for the rest of the locker room. This has been Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger. Thanks for joining me this evening. Have a great weekend. We will see you next week. I'll be here, but remember, the guys will be live from Las Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
94.
This is Sports. I'm Kevin Winter. 10 games slate in the NBA tonight, including the top 4 teams in the Western Conference, separated by 2 games. All 4 are in action. Minnesota leads by 1 over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Clippers 2 back. Denver game and a half back. Clippers game 5 of a 7-game Grammy road trip. They're in Detroit tonight. They're tied at 50 apiece with the Pistons. 3:06 to go in the second quarter. Meanwhile, the Memphis Grizzlies will host the Golden State Warriors this hour. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they will play host to the Orlando Magic. Minnesota 34-14 on the season. Oklahoma City, a game back of the Timberwolves. Thunder and the Hornets this